Welcome to the Science and Politics of the GMO. I'm Sarah Evanja, an international professor of plant breeding and genetics. I teach courses on biotechnology and lead global projects in international agriculture. As a plant biologist, I'll be your guide through the science in this course as we take a look at genetically modified organisms. We'll investigate what they are, why they're made, and what they do. We'll consider what sorts of problems GMOs might help us address, such as hunger, malnutrition, even climate change. This will be a course about the science of GMOs and a lot more.
Exactly, Sarah. In some ways, our story just begins with scientists in the lab, modifying genes in the hopes of solving problems and developing new genetically modified products to bring to market. GMOs are also political, as we'll see. But before we can debate GMOs, before we can make any sort of political judgments, we need to learn about them. I'm Jaren Porciello, an information and library scientist with an interest in how people encounter, verify, and ultimately transmit information to one another. I'm curious about how people think critically about information before they make decisions. In this course, we'll consider where we get information about science and how science research is transmitted to the public. We'll look at science reporting, social media, and think hard about how we know what sources of information to trust.
Now can we get to the politics?
Yes, Ron, now we can get to the politics.
Good. Hi, everyone. My name is Ronald Herring. I go by Ron. My title at Cornell is Professor of Government, but that's not common among universities. They're usually called political science. Here we're not terribly convinced that it can be very scientific. I teach courses in agrarian political economy, that is, who gets what and how, and the politics of science, the environment, and South Asia. I'm also an international professor of agriculture and rural development, and that explains why I'm involved with GMOs. The very idea of something called a GMO has created more political controversy than any other innovation in agriculture that I can think of. That makes for a great puzzle. Why is that? And if you answer that puzzle any way you answer it, you find that it raises a second one. If the science is the same all over the world, why are the politics so different across different countries? Most of my own research has been in South Asia on land reform and rural poverty. I got interested in GMOs because of battles over Bt cotton in India. Some people claim that the failure of this particular GMO in the fields caused a wave of farmer suicides. Others, including farmer organizations, demanded more biotech crops precisely because of the great success of Bt cotton. How do we sort out the truth? And even harder, how do we sort out the politics?
And Ron, those questions you raise bring up issues that are really beyond just politics narrowly. I'm David Just, a behavioral economist in the Dyson School of Applied Economics and Management. I study how people make decisions that aren't always in their best interest. When it comes to GMOs, I look at how perceptions of GMOs by both farmers and consumers can affect the way they use them or adopt them. Often we think about politics in terms of people trying to protect their own interests. Is that fair to say, Ron?
That's exactly the way many political scientists think about the concept of interest, right?
And those interests are often built upon individual motivations, such as profit or preferences, and perhaps health risks or benefits. But how good are we at determining our interests? How do we each individually take the information that's out there in the marketplace and translate that into whether we decide to buy a particular product or good? We'll take a look at who benefits economically from GMOs, as well as who gets hurt by them, from large corporations to the small stakes farmers. We'll also take a look at how consumers evaluate information about GMOs in the marketplace and the impacts that individual choices can have both on the marketplace and around the world.
So this is a course about science, about communication, about politics, about economics, about psychology. I'm Becca Harrison, a PhD student in science and technology studies. I grew up in the agriculture industry and have always had a passion for production agriculture. I did my undergraduate work in animal science and international agriculture, but became fascinated by how scientists interact with society on controversial issues surrounding science and food. I study the ways that science and social sciences intersect and interact. In some ways, that's what this course is about. we've taken a topic we all study, genetically modified organisms, and have looked at it from a number of different perspectives. Whether you come into this class with strong feelings for or against GMOs, or you're just curious, we are hopeful that you'll emerge having learned from each new perspective. As you can see, it takes more than one system of thinking to discuss the complex issues of the GMO. We challenge you to think critically in this course, to consider all aspects of this issue and how you, the individual, fit in a much larger ecosystem of how decisions are made and how information is transmitted.